What if the person you've been fighting your entire life isn't actually your enemy? What if that voice telling you you're not good enough, that the world is against you, that you'll never escape these patterns? What if that voice was trying to protect you all along? Dr. Gabor Maté recently revealed something in a conversation that changes everything we thought we knew about trauma, triggers, and why we keep repeating the same painful cycles. He said that when you feel like the world is against you, you're not experiencing your present reality. You're experiencing your 7-year-old self's reality. And here's the part that resonated so deeply. It stopped me in my tracks. You're not broken. You're just carrying ammunition that was loaded into you before you could even choose. Stay with me, because in the next 19 minutes we're going to journey through a series of powerful insights that will completely shift how you see yourself. And the last one, it connects everything in a way you won't see coming. Before we dive in, I need you to understand something crucial. When someone says, "I feel like the world is against me," they're not describing a feeling, they're stating a belief. And that distinction, that's where healing begins. See, beliefs are just fossilized feelings from our past. They're emotional experiences that got frozen in time, usually from childhood, and now they run on autopilot in our adult lives. But here's what gives me hope. If these beliefs were formed in the past, they can be transformed in the present. We're going to explore powerful insights from Dr. Maté's work. We'll talk about the victim mindset paradox, why asking for help is actually a sign of strength, how to find real trauma-informed help, the true nature of triggers, and a language shift that changes everything. And then, at the end, we'll connect it all to something you might be doing right now without even realizing it. Something that affects not just you, but everyone around you. Let's begin. The victim mindset paradox. Think about a child who's suffering. A child whose needs aren't being met, who doesn't feel safe, who doesn't feel loved in the way they need to be loved. That child has two options, two unconscious beliefs they can adopt to make sense of their world. The first belief: the world is dangerous. My parents don't know how to love me. I can't trust anyone. I'm alone, and I'm going to suffer. The second belief: there's something wrong with me, but maybe, just maybe, if I work hard enough, if I fix myself, things will get better. Now, which belief do you think a child would choose? Which one gives them a sense of control, a sense of hope, even if it's a painful hope? The second one, every time. Because the second belief, as painful as it is actually protective. It gives the child agency. It says, "I'm not helpless. There's something I can do." And that voice that comes with that belief, that critical inner voice that tells you you're not good enough, it didn't show up to torture you. It showed up to keep you going. It became your companion, your strategy for survival. But here's the paradox. What protected you then is imprisoning you now. That 7-year-old inside you is still running the show, still believing that if you just work harder, push harder, be better, then finally you'll be worthy of love. But you were always worthy. You were always enough. That belief was never the truth. It was just the best option available to a child who had no other way to make sense of their pain. And when you say the world is against me today, as an adult, you're not reporting on your current reality. You're channeling that child's emotional experience. You're living in an echo, the hidden cry for help. Now, here's something that Dr. Maté pointed out that completely shifted my perspective. He said, anyone who speaks this way, anyone who says, "I feel like the world is against me," or "nothing ever works out for me," whether they know it or not, they're asking for help. Think about that. Because if someone had truly given up, if they had genuinely surrendered to hopelessness, they wouldn't be talking. They would just quietly withdraw. They would isolate themselves completely and sink into silence. But when you speak your pain, when you voice your struggle, even in the form of a complaint or a statement of defeat, you're extending a hand. You're saying, "I'm still here. I'm still fighting. I'm still hoping someone can reach me." And that means something profound. You can be helped. The very fact that you're aware of your pain, that you're articulating it, means the door to healing isn't closed. It's just hidden. maybe buried under years of disappointment and protective armor, but it's there. Dr. Maté also emphasized something we often forget. We're not meant to heal alone. We're not designed for that. Human beings evolved in connection, in community, in tribes. We healed together. We suffered together. We grew together. This modern idea that we should be able to fix ourselves in isolation, that asking for help is weakness. It's not just wrong, it's biologically backwards. You're not alone in this. Millions of people feel exactly what you feel. And they're not crazy. You're not crazy. These beliefs, these patterns, these feelings, they're normal responses to abnormal circumstances. They're adaptive strategies that helped you survive a childhood that wasn't meeting your needs. But survival mode isn't the same as thriving mode. And now, as an adult, you get to choose differently. The trauma-informed gap. Okay, so let's say you've decided to get help. You recognize that you're carrying old wounds, that you're stuck in patterns, and you're ready to work with someone. Here's the hard truth. Most professionals aren't trained to help you with this. Dr. Maté, who went through medical school and practiced as a physician, was honest about this. He said the average doctor, the average psychiatrist, never hears any of this stuff. They learn about PTSD because it's a diagnosable disorder, but they learn nothing about the traumatic basis of depression, anxiety, ADHD, addiction. They're trained to treat symptoms, not wounds. And it's the same with many therapists. Cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy. These approaches can be helpful for managing behaviors and reframing thoughts. But if the therapist isn't trauma-informed, if they don't understand that your behaviors are symptoms of deeper wounds, they can't help you heal at your core. They can help you cope better, which isn't useless, but it's not the same as healing. So what should you look for? Therapies and practitioners that work with trauma directly. Somatic experiencing, developed by Dr. Peter Levine, which works with how trauma is stored in the body. Internal family systems, created by Dr. Richard Schwartz, which helps you understand the different parts of yourself and how they're trying to protect you. MDR, which reprocesses traumatic memories. Compassionate inquiry, which is based on Dr. Maté's own work. The key is finding someone who's trauma-informed and who's willing to work with you not just on changing your behaviors, but on understanding and healing the core wounds those behaviors are protecting. And here's the thing. This kind of help isn't always easy to find, especially within traditional medical systems, but it exists, and you're worth finding it. The trigger mechanism. All right, let's talk about triggers, because even when you're in therapy, even when you're doing the work, you're still going to get triggered, and that can feel like failure, like, why is this still happening? I thought I was healing. But Dr. Maté reframed triggers in a way that's honestly brilliant. He said, think about a rifle. Picture a trigger on a rifle. How big is that trigger compared to the whole gun? Tiny, right? Now, for that tiny trigger to set off an explosion, what else has to be there? There has to be a mechanism to deliver the bullet. There has to be ammunition. There has to be an explosive charge. When you get triggered, the person or situation that triggers you is just that tiny trigger. They didn't cause your reaction. You're the one carrying the ammunition. You're the one carrying the explosive charge. If you didn't have that inside you, they could do or say whatever they want and it wouldn't set you off. You'd just be curious, or disappointed, or neutral. Dr. Maté gave a personal example. He said 20 years ago, if he asked his wife to be intimate, and she said no, he would react with rage, curl into a fetal position, and literally not want to live. That's a massive explosion from a tiny trigger, the word no. But the trigger wasn't the problem. The problem was the explosive he was carrying. The belief that he was being rejected, abandoned, unwanted. The belief that he was an infant, helpless, alone. That's a wound from his childhood that was still unhealed. Now, if he didn't have that charge, if she said no, he could respond completely differently. He could ask if she's tired, if something's bothering her. He could feel disappointed and let it go. He could say, okay, another time, and move on with his evening. So here's the gift. Every time you get triggered, you're being shown exactly where you still have work to do. Triggers aren't setbacks, they're invitations. They're your psyche saying, hey, there's still some old pain here that needs your attention. The language shift. But here's where it gets practical. When you get triggered, how you talk to yourself about it determines whether you learn or whether you just spiral. Most of us ask, why is this happening to me again? But that's not really a question. It's a statement. It's a statement of resentment, of victimhood, of this shouldn't be happening. And when you approach it that way, you can't learn anything. You're in resistance. But what if you asked it differently? What if instead of, why is this happening, you asked, I wonder what this is teaching me. I wonder what I'm still carrying that I haven't looked at yet. Feel the difference. The first question closes you off. The second one opens you up. It invites curiosity, and curiosity is where healing lives. Dr. Maté calls this compassionate curiosity, being genuinely curious about yourself but without judgment. Not, why am I so messed up? But, this brought up the pain of rejection. I'm obviously still carrying that wound. Let's look at it. Let's understand it. And here's the thing, that wound isn't happening in the present. It happened in the past. But your nervous system doesn't know that. It's reacting as if the danger is now. So part of healing is gently reminding yourself, I'm not that helpless child anymore. I'm an adult. I have resources. I have choices. I can handle this. That shift in language, that shift from resistance to curiosity, it's one of the most powerful tools you have, because it takes you out of victim mode and into learner mode. And learner mode is where transformation happens. If this is resonating, subscribe and turn on notifications. We're going deeper into these patterns in the coming weeks. The misguided friend inside your head. Okay, let's talk about that voice, you know the one. The one that tells you you're not good enough, that you should be better, that you're falling behind, that everyone else has it figured out except you. That voice can be brutal. And for a lot of us, it's the loudest voice in our heads. But Dr. Maté offers a completely different way to relate to it. He calls it the stupid friend, and I prefer to think of it as the misguided friend. And here's why. That voice showed up when you were young, probably around 7 years old, when you adopted that second belief we talked about earlier. There's something wrong with me, but I can fix it. That voice came along to help you survive, to motivate you, to push you to be better so maybe finally you'd be worthy of love. It was your protector. It was your strategy. It was, in a twisted way, your friend. The problem comes in because it never learned that you grew up. It's still giving you the same message it gave you when you were 7. It doesn't know you're not that powerless kid anymore. It's frozen in time, just like your wounds. So here's what Dr. Maté suggests. Next time you hear that voice, say hello to it. Acknowledge it. Hi, I see you. I know you've been working hard to keep me safe, to make me better. Thank you. But you know what? You can relax now. I'm an adult. I can take care of this. You're essentially having a conversation with a 7-year-old version of yourself. And instead of fighting it, instead of trying to silence it, you're thanking it. You're releasing it from duty. Because here's the truth. That voice isn't your enemy. It never was. It's just an outdated protection mechanism that doesn't know it's okay to stand down. The screen epidemic and emotional inheritance. Now, here's where everything we've talked about connects to something bigger, something you might be doing right now without realizing it. Dr. Maté was asked about parenting in today's world, and he said something that stopped me cold. He quoted the Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh. The greatest gift a parent can give to their child is his or her own happiness. Let that sink in, because what it means is this. If you're walking around stressed, anxious, depressed, stuck in victim mode, carrying all these unhealed wounds, your kids are downloading that. They're absorbing your emotional state and making it about themselves. They're thinking, there's something wrong with me. That's why my parent is unhappy. The cycle repeats. But here's the specific thing Dr. Maté warned about that's unique to our time: screens. He said that screens, phones, tablets, all of it, have been documented to interfere with the healthy development of brain circuits in children. And beyond the neurological damage, there's a psychological message being sent. When you're walking with your kid but you're looking at your phone, when you're with them but you're texting, emailing, scrolling, the message they receive is, "This device is more important than you are." And that child who's wired to attach to you, who needs your presence more than anything, starts to believe there's something wrong with them, that they're not interesting enough, not important enough, not enough. Dr. Maté said if he were raising kids today, he wouldn't let them near a screen for years. He'd encourage outdoor play, creative play, spontaneous exploration in nature. He'd make sure the first 3 years of life were as stress-free as possible because those years are crucial. And he admitted, with humility, "I wish I had known this stuff when my kids were small." So here's the connection. All the work you do on yourself, understanding your triggers, changing your language, having compassion for your inner child, it doesn't just heal you. It stops the transmission. It breaks the cycle. It means the next generation doesn't have to carry your ammunition. So let me bring it all together. You're not broken. You never were. You're carrying ammunition that was loaded into you when you were too small to choose by circumstances that were beyond your control. But now, as an adult, you get to choose. You get to recognize that when you feel like the world is against you, you're not reporting on your present, you're echoing your past. You get to see that speaking your pain is actually a sign of strength, not weakness, because it means you're still reaching for help. You get to find trauma-informed support that goes deeper than just managing symptoms. You get to reframe triggers not as failures but as teachers, showing you exactly where you still need to heal. You get to shift your language from "why me" to "what is this teaching me?" You get to thank that critical voice inside you and release it from duty. And you get to make sure that the people in your life, especially the children, don't inherit your wounds. They inherit your healing. That's the journey. That's the work. And it's not easy, but it's worth it. Because on the other side of this is a version of you that isn't running from triggers, isn't at war with yourself, isn't carrying explosives everywhere you go. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these insights hit you the hardest? Was it the trigger mechanism? The misguided friend? The language shift? The realization about emotional inheritance? Drop a comment and let me know, because your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Someone who's feeling alone and broken. And if you want to keep going deeper into this work, into understanding your wounds, rewriting your patterns, and building a life that isn't ruled by your past, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. Next video, we're talking about how to identify the specific childhood wounds that are still running your adult relationships. You don't want to miss it. Remember, your sensitivity isn't a flaw. It's your compass home. I'll see you in the next one.